Stress is good for you. Well, we'll get there by the end of this show, and I have a lot of help with a special guest. But hold on now. I want to talk about acute stress for a moment. The hungry mountain lion comes in the room drooling and looks at you, right? You're stressed. We call that acute stress. It has chemicals. It's there to save your life. It has fight or flight, you have all heard of, right? So you have to be ready for action. Your heart rate goes up and your pupils dilate. Blood is shunted from the gut to the muscles so you can get ready for fight or flight. And you feel your heart flutter and tingles all over as you get ready for action or something, right? Let's say the hungry mountain lion leaves the room, things settle down, and then an hour later you forget it even happened. That's good stress. However, that's not our perception of stress. Dr. Peter Percuoco, my good friend for 30 years, is an expert at explaining the other aspects of stress. So that's acute stress, Dr. Percuoco. Tell me about chronic stress and where that wreaks havoc on people's systems.
Well, thank you, Scott, for the introduction. And what I want you to recognize is that stress is, it's your interpretation of the events that are going on around you. You can't buy a box of stress. You can't go to Amazon and you can't order it online. It's manufactured by the way you think. So it's very important that we understand what we think about controls how we feel when we're under stress. So I want to share with you just for a moment a research project that was done at the University of Wisconsin. And it was on stress, of all things. Right. It was pretty interesting. What they did was they took 30,000 Americans over an 8-year period. And during that time, they simply started out by asking them these two basic questions. The first question was, how much stress have you had in the last year? And do you believe that stress is actually causing damage to your health? And at the end of the study, they found out that if you had significant stress, you had a 43% chance of dying early. I mean, with a sudden cardiac death, out you go.
I think the key part of that is the belief.
Was the belief. Matter of fact, that was really the whole key to the study, because the only people that were in that 43% that would die prematurely, that did die prematurely, were those that said that they believed that stress was harmful to their health. Those that did not believe it had a 0% chance of dying. It was about the belief that you were going to die, not the belief that stress was killing you. That was the true killer, not the stress itself. And what you should know at home is this, that stress is really important to you, the stress reaction. When you're stressed out over something like maybe being on TV for the first time, which is not my first time with you, Dr. Fuller, but that whole idea that you're getting nervous and your heart rate is starting to pump faster. Your lungs are breathing quicker. There's blood coming out of your intestines and it's going into your muscles. Your pupils are getting bigger for more light. Your ears are becoming more sensitive to sound. Your smell increases. All these things are literally your best friend. They're trying to get you ready to bring energy to the brain, energy to the body, to get you ready to do your very best that you can. So it's not the stress that kills us. Actually, that stress reaction is fantastic for us. It's that one thing that prepares your body for greatness. And if you believe this, according to this study, it has profound effects on your longevity and how well you're able to get through your day-to-day as a healthy individual. We must change the way we believe in order to make significant changes in our overall health.
So what you're getting at is this acute stress of the example of the hungry mountain lion, or we could use another aspect of, I'm going on stage for the first time to speak to 3,000 people and recite my poem, or I'm getting ready for my sports event and now we were in the small events and now we're on the big stage. These chemicals that are released, these physiologic changes are actually beneficial for us and can help us. But I think a lot of us run into the scenario when we have stress, chronic stress, that becomes a negative animal in our lives. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. And, the body doesn't make good things and bad things. We've heard a lot, we're not going to talk about this, but good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. There's just cholesterol. There's no good, no bad. It's just like urine in the bladder. There's no good urine and bad urine. It just is what it is. So when we have a stress reaction, our body goes through a lot of physiology changes to prepare us for this event that we're taking place in. But you have to remember this, that while the body is building up these stress reactions or stress hormones and chemicals, it also secretes another really interesting and fun chemical. And by the way, I didn't mention the other chemicals, so if there's anybody at home who's really savvy with chemistry, cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine. These are the fight or flight hormones that jack our body up. But while they're being secreted, we also secrete something else, which is called, do you know it?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin,
That's
absolutely. And I think many people at home probably know that term. If you don't, this is the first time, it's okay. It's actually called the cuddle hormone. And by that, it means that when we spend time with other people and hugging and being close, we secrete more of this oxytocin. Now, why is this oxytocin so important to us? Well, think of this. When you're stressed out and you're having a difficult day, a difficult month, this oxytocin that's being released into your body is telling your brain to become social. It literally is imploring you to go to someone and share with them what's happening with you. You get it out, and then you surround yourself with people who love you and who care for you. And as you secrete more and more oxytocin, you have more of a desire to share yourself with someone else, which is really beautiful in itself. But the one very powerful thing about oxytocin from a pure scientific standpoint is this, that it regenerates cardiac cells, in other words, heart cells that may have been traumatized or damaged due to these excessive stress reactions. It also takes your blood vessels and it dilates them, which in other words, relaxes them, so the blood can flow freely through the system, so our blood pressure can come down. We can protect our heart. And more than anything else, of course, oxytocin is now taking this nasty, quote unquote, nasty stress reaction, and it has a balancing other side to it, which allows us to be more social and hang out with others and help others. And I've told my patients, and I know you have as well, Dr. Fuller, as we've talked about in the past, is that when you're struggling with stress, listen to the oxytocin, please. Go help someone. The minute you take yourself out of your tough situation and you bring yourself to someone else and you help them, you're actually activating your higher concept or higher amount of oxytocin, protecting your body. But your love and your compassion, whoa, then it is delivered into someone else. And as they come up, they return it to you. It becomes a cyclical response. And if we build social environments filled with people that want to help each other and recognize that stress is not your killer, it's the belief that stress is your killer, is truly your killer. Don't forget that the human body puts a stress reaction together that makes your body feel like a dish rag when it's over. But it also activates oxytocin in order to rebuild your system so that when you wake up in the morning, you're just as enthused about another wonderful day on this planet as the day before.
One of our favorite thought direction experts is Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Right? There are many, many other great people that can lead us all in the right direction and help us direct our thoughts, because directing our thoughts or directing our perception of what's going on in our life will lead us to a great place as we deal with challenges. So as we are presented with day-to-day challenges and pressures and everything in life that seems to get at us a little bit, get under our skin, we can actually change our perception of that, which would then change our reaction to it. So stress now is, we all think of the word stress as only negative. Dr. Percuoco is telling us, no, wait a minute, no, it can be much, much more positive than that. And we can do that by changing our perception of what's going on around us. One of the great things that Tony Robbins teaches us is by asking better questions, and that will begin to direct our thoughts in a better direction. How can we help people with that? When they're listening to you right now and they're saying, right, yeah, that all sounds well and good, but I've got the kids over here and I've got stress over here and my works thing is going on and I've got too much stuff and not enough day, and what do? I need some practical application.
Right. Well, first and foremost, it's a great question, of course, and for each individual, the response that you develop is very unique to your own mindset. But what Dr. Fuller said about perspective is huge. It's really become part of my practice, part of me personally and my family, and it's the way you want to see something. And the way you see it is predicated, as Dr. Fuller said, on the questions that you ask. So to answer your question, the first thing that I would ask you to think about at home, and remember, I'm not going to tell you what to do because that's your perception, you make your own choice, is stop asking questions that begin with why. Questions with why don't really construct an answer that builds you anything you can work with, as opposed to a question like this: how can I, or what can I do? See, immediately, like if you wake up today and you get out of bed and you look in the mirror and you see this, chubby body and you don't like it, should you ask yourself, why am I so chubby? Because you're probably going to get an answer you don't like. You eat a lot of junk, you don't move your body, you have an awful view of what stress is, and now you have no paradigm, nothing to work with other than is that me? But if you woke up, you look in the mirror one day and you say, gosh, I really am not happy. This is that voice in your head. So what can I do today that's going to make a difference in the way my body presents today? And some of the questions would be simple. Well, how about we go for a 30-minute walk and relax outdoors where our stress goes down and we feel more connected to our environment? Number one. How about number two? Why don't we eat whole foods, organic foods that are vegetable driven, that really help our body to repair itself? Sounds good. How about drink half of my body weight in water? Well, sounds good.
That's good.
How about find 3 things that you absolutely have gratitude for? This is really powerful. The American Psychological Association says this, that if you take 3 things that you're absolutely cannot live without, they're the best things in your life, and I have them. It's my wife Lisa, my son Lorenzo, and my daughter Angelina. Every day when I awaken, I realize how beautiful they are and how much joy they bring to me, and I play that in my head for a couple of minutes with each one. Within 21 days, scientists have seen that the formation of mental thoughts in your brain by looking at brain chemistry changes.
So it's the grateful list. Somebody can look at their own life situation and say, I am grateful. These things are so important to me. It's family, it's career, it's personal health, it's my strength, it's giving to others, it's God, it's whatever it is. Come up with 3 really intense, really passionate things that no matter what's all the little things that are happening around us, I can still rely on these 3. Look at those. The gratitude list is what some people call it, right?
I love it.
So what some people can do, what you all can do if you want a little bit of an exercise, the 21-day challenge, if you will, is write 3 things that you're grateful for. I am grateful for today, because today is a gift. I am grateful for my life. I am grateful for my family. Just throwing some ideas out for you. You can expand on that to whatever direction you want to. But the grateful list, I think that's a great way to go. What else can they do?
Well, when you look at your perspective, you have to recognize that it's being crafted. Well, it started with your parents. Let's just put it that way. You came into this world with this inner glow, this inner gift, right? This is really who you are. Now, if you don't know who you are, you got to find out, because I can tell you what, you're not what you do at work. These are distinctions. Like I may say that I'm a doctor, that I'm also an author, that I'm a father. Well, these are things that I've chosen to do, which are really in accordance with who I am. So just remember this. Keep yourself in the company of others who have strong positive beliefs. That's really one of the most important things that you can ever do, is be around others who basically see things in a great way. If they don't, they're going to slowly wear you down until you can't breathe anymore. And nothing, when you look at your basic physiology, like in my practice, when I see my patients, 95 or almost 100% of my patients do not come in because they're injured. They're coming in because they have this belief mechanism which is poor, and it's pouring into their body. I have to tell you this, I know you and I talked off camera, but I think it's really important that this is my 28th year in practice. Dr. Fuller and I went to graduate school together, so we've been at it a long time. And I've always been asking the question, why are they here today? Why is this a problem now? And what's going on over there? Now, as men of science, doctors, we look for the scientific principle, and we forgot that something's driving that. And then listen, your life is going to be difficult. Of course it is. Everybody has those struggles. But when life gets very difficult, you either grow or you grow a tumor. Because your mind is the thing that's creating everything else in the body. The body is nothing more than a reflection of what's going on here on a daily basis. Perception is going to be your key. How you want to see it. You can change anything, anytime you want. Dr. Fuller and I are both chiropractic neurologists. So I want you to think of this. Do you work with somebody who is kind of one of those people that always sees it in a negative light? No matter what you say, it's beautiful out. Yeah, well, it's going to stink tomorrow. And it's cold out today. Oh, it could be cold. It's freezing today. There's always some negative there. And I want you to remember this. It's not easy to change these people because of the fact that the brain is a bunch of nerve cells, bunch of cells that look like, the Boston Public Garden in April, like the tulip gardens. They're flowing everywhere. They're gorgeous. So the human brain becomes conditioned by its perspective. If it's conditioned to see it negative, then it's going to do it every time it has to put a meaning towards something. And therefore, you have just introduced yourself to the pessimist. But the 21-day challenge actually changes the plasticity of the brain. And plasticity means that the brain is moldable. You can literally remold the brain circuitry, not to see the darkness in the middle of a sunstorm or sunlight, but how to find the silver lining in almost everything you see. And be prepared, though. You're going to wind up being one of those people on your own little island, a freak, as they say. I'll take a freak if a freak means that I think independently and that I think in a very positive light and that I can look for, find, and live comfortably with the silver lining to every situation that I see. Some will say, do you always see the silver lining? Sometimes I struggle to see it, and I'm sure you will as well. And I'm sure at home, I think people should know that you don't get to just have 50 years of experience doing it right in a second. But it always changes. How fast, Dr. Fuller?
Instantly.
Instantly. You know what? Think about people who go to therapy. And by the way, if you go to therapy, I'm tipping the cap to you. You're doing everything you can to find out who you are. Mm-hmm. But you ever notice that sometimes people say, I went to therapy for 10 years and then I had a major change?
Yep.
What was the therapy for 10 years?
It happened all of it in an instant.
Did?
Something happened right at that moment in time.
And do we think that it's probable that all the therapy that you had was building confidence and slowly shifting the machine? And then on one day you went, I got it. I got it. Haven't you ever had a moment at home, that epiphany that just says, oh my God, I got it. Could it be this easy? If I just shifted away from stress being negative, that I don't die early? That oxytocin releases and jacks my heart up? It makes me happy. It makes me close to people. I become a better person, which means I get greater outcomes. Here's a topic that I think is very important, but I want to hear Dr. Fuller talk about this. So I'm going to ask you this question. Mm-hmm. When people have a poor outcome, yes. Right now their life yes. is struggling, what is it that sets them on the wrong course? Something in that state management. Yep. How does that even go?
That's right. I think it comes down to one word: perception. I think that's what it is. So as I look back at all thousands of people that I've worked with and the thousands of people that you've worked with, we look at the people that seem to have incredible outcomes very, very quickly. Dr. Percuoco was sharing a story recently of one of his patients. I'll let him tell you that story in a moment. But I want to tell you a story about one of my patients just today. And she came in, and I could tell as soon as I walked into the room. And what's interesting is how did I know that? I walk in, and I thought, she's better. That's exactly what I came. I walked in, I saw her, it couldn't have been 0.3 of a second, and instantly in this wonderful brain of mine, I thought, she's better. So I said, you look great. What's different? She said, oh, well, I got laid off a couple of weeks ago. And then I went through my mind, and I was like, okay, so she was a stressed person, right? She didn't like her job, and I was calculating all of this as we were going on in our conversation. And I said, so what have you been doing over the past couple of weeks? Well, I've been spending more time with my children, and I've been exercising more. And I said, so how do you feel? Pretty good. Mm-hmm. So she's one of the ones that obviously was surrounded in this job. She wasn't able to change her perception of that job to, there is a silver lining in this job. So she was involved with this and just didn't like being there. It was a toxic environment. And as soon as she removed herself from that toxic environment and brought her back to the things in her life that she is grateful for, I love my children, I need to take care of myself and respect my body, she did that, and then all of a sudden the outcome that you asked about, her outcome of her body improved incredibly. And she had, no surprise to you, no surprise to everybody listening to this show, she had anxiety and dizziness and equilibrium problems, mild headaches and pain all the time. That has just peeled away in 2 weeks. I know you have a lot of stories like that too.
I do. You know what? I didn't share this one with you, but now listening to your story, that really has me thinking about something that happened in my practice recently. And I was working with a woman. She's an immigrant. She'd been in America for 20 years, a very heavy accent. She is from the Greek islands. And she came in and she was very dizzy. And being chiropractic neurologist, I run through a full evaluation and I can't find the reason for her particular dizziness. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I sit down and I begin to change my questioning, not to when are you dizzy, how often does it come on, do you feel nauseous, do you ever feel coolness in your face or tingling around your mouth? I moved away from that. I started asking questions like, so tell me about your marriage. Obviously you're married. How long have you been married? And how does he treat you? And how many children do you have? What's going on with them? What's going on with your work? Tell me about your father. What's going on with all these different things that really, in essence, don't have anything to do with science, but they do. You just have to bridge that gap. So sitting with this young woman for a period of time, it must have been maybe about a month into it, she still has episodic dizziness. But as I mentioned to her, your diagnosis isn't vertigo. You're just dizzy as a consequence of the chemistry that you're producing because you're under heavy stress and you believe that stress is killing you. And in essence, it is killing you. So we spent many, many sessions, 5 seconds to make the corrections to her spine as a doctor, and 30 minutes conversing about perception. And she hated the relationship with her husband. And she had so many difficult and painful relationships that she had developed based upon her inability to find the silver lining. So every day I would work with her, and for the first 5 or 10 minutes, she was angry and negative. By the time she left, it was hugs and laughter and joy. And then every day we went on from there, that dizziness, we never talked about it again because it had disappeared. And we became even more and more, or she became more and more understanding that she was actually promoting her own sickness by the way she saw the relationship with her husband. So I said to her, maybe, just maybe, change your perception by leading your husband into a loving relationship. Show him the way. Stop trying to beat him down. She said, all right, I got no other choice, I'll give it a whirl. Well, it works. The husband comes around and falls in love with his wife and starts treating her differently because what he sees in every room of the house is her in a more beautiful light. You know, and it's been said that what you are speaks so loudly that I can't hear a word you're saying. So to his ear, she sounded a lot like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. Right. He just didn't want anything to do with her. And then when she took the first step forward, he stepped with her. Right now, during this conversation, she's in Greece with her hometown family, and he wanted her to go and brought the son with her, where he wouldn't let her go uptown to get a gallon of milk. He frees her from this oppression because she took the first step to free him. By the way, we've had 5 months without dizziness. 5 months without dizziness, but she keeps coming. How come? Because her true diagnosis wasn't dizziness. The true diagnosis was a perception dysfunction, and she had no clue who she was, and now she's learned over the time sessions with me, and I didn't give it to her, I just simply cleaned her lens off and said, what do you see now? And she's like, oh my God. And every day she walks in, she's a ball of love and her face is like jacked and she can't wait to see Dr. Peter because that's who she is now. She's a woman filled with love. By the way, she always was, and so are you. And if you don't feel the love every day, it's very simple. Why? Because you've been hanging out in the negative too long and now you're conditioned to see it that way. But it can change that fast.
How did you help her to find that path? What kind of things?
Good question that you asked. So when she would come in to see me, she would always start the process. I didn't try to teach her anything. I just would listen to her. And then what I would see is that she would start off and then her respiration would pick up. A lot like me, I'm an excited kind of guy. I like to get into my work. Well, she got into her complaining. And the worse it got, she was looking to me to pat her on the back and say, it's okay. But that ain't who I am. I just tell the truth. And I said, well, the reason it all went wrong because you're a poop head. And the way you just handled this was terrible. You treated him exactly the way he treated you. And then I just backed off and she went, and she's yelling at me.
Right.
I go, now you're yelling at me? Well, holy moly, I'd hate to be passing you on a lane in the highway. You might wipe me out. So honesty, as to your question, Dr. Fuller, being very honest and then not over offering, but when she's asking, I made sure that I gave her honest feedback and could look down the line where she was blind to see how it would affect her in the long run, and then back off. And if you're at home, you don't have to believe a word I say. It's never about whether I'm right, you're right, he's right, she's right. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is if you can change your perception, then you can change how you feel. And if you change how you feel, then your behaviors will be different. And if those behaviors improve, then your outcome is better. See, everything hinges off of the next thing. Are you right or are you wrong to believe that it's cold outside today and that winter is terrible? Whatever.
Right.
But if you love the winter, then you love skiing, then the winter's great. It's always going to be perception. Always. It's never going to be anything less than that. Life is nothing more than what you want to perceive. And if you want to perceive it in a negative light, it's because someone or something has conditioned you and taught you how to be this way. But you do not have to stay this way one more second in your life. And I know myself and Dr. Fuller, very close colleagues and personal friends. And this has been, the last 2 years has been a real wild eye-opening for us as well, right?
Totally eye-opening. Now, what is that going to do? You mentioned this situation that their relationship wasn't working. And they were having trouble enhancing each other and enjoying love and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
She took the first step, he unconsciously went with her. Maybe he took another step and she went with him and so forth. And now there's giving and more perception change.
Yeah.
So now the two of them are starting to mold their relationship better back to probably more how it was in the beginning when they first met. So now they're becoming more loving and exuding more love and happiness and fun and joy. What is that going to do for the kids?
Oh my God, you just whacked me right in the head with that one, because that's the key. I mean, I'm a dad, so I can say I find that to be the key. I have two beautiful children, they're 14 and 11, and I love them more than anything in the world. But when the moms and the dads find a way to overcome and literally change their perspective, it changes their body. They move differently. They don't move so tight. They don't have that angry scowl. The kids walk in and see the parents, and they go, hi, Mom. Mom gives them a big love and a hug and says, I love you so much. Now, the children are learning wonderful coping skills, and their own perception becomes crafted and shifted like that of the parents. And then those children go to school and they shift the focus there. Those husbands and wives, they go to work and change the focus there. And pretty soon, you're getting something that is disseminating to more people. And when you create an environment like this, then it feeds back to you on days when you're suffering. Yesterday, I suffered a little bit. I had a few issues going on that were difficult to deal with, and I coped this way. I took a step back, a deep breath, and I told my wife, I'm just a little stressing at the moment, but I know it's going to pass. I'm human. Just give me a second. And she said, I love you. And she sent me a bunch of text messages echoing the same. And within an hour, I was totally out of it, back on track again. And you will, unfortunately, like all of us, fall back into a bad pattern, because that can happen. The minute you feel that ugly pattern, it should tell you, oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong direction again, and quickly just turn it right back. It's okay if your mind shifts, because it can always come back to the truth.
Beliefs are the key. You have 30 seconds. Go.
What you believe is what you manifest. Who you are is what you think about every day. If you think about gratitude and love and compassion and forgiveness, those things, those properties right there are the key to happiness and joy, which is already within you. You just have to ignite it and let it flow.
All I need is already within me. And that's one of the things that Tony Robbins has said as well. What a fantastic show. I thank Dr. Peter Percuoco for joining me. I'm Dr. Scott Fuller. We'll see you again.